What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the July 30th, 2022 edition of the SmackDown LowDown from right before SummerSlam. Yes, I am several days late in reviewing this, watching it. I am extremely backed up and being in Nashville for SummerSlam weekend and posting videos, reviewing stuff like this. My Raw Talk review should be up at some point tomorrow. But, yeah, I figured I would watch it and review it just in case because there was several stuff that happened on SmackDown that had nothing to do with SummerSlam. The New Day, Viking Raiders stuff, Sheamus and McIntyre having their Donnybrook match or whatever it was called. That and several other things. This was a very SummerSlam heavy show, so like the predictions and stuff are irrelevant now. The pay-per-view was 4 days ago. It is always tough when they do these episodes of the SmackDown LowDown right before a pay-per-view. Because it's not like they put it up late on Friday night. I'm sure they recorded on Friday night after SmackDown. They don't put these episodes up on Peacock until around noon on Saturdays. The pay-per-views typically East Coast time are around 7 or 6. 6, 7, 8. So it's really not a lot of time to watch the show, review the show, and do stuff like that if you're busy doing other things. But I figured I would watch it just in case. Like I said, a very SummerSlam heavy edition of the SmackDown LowDown, but nonetheless. Jackie Redmond was joined remotely by Sam Roberts and later Matt Camp, who was on site in Nashville for SummerSlam weekend, as I was as well. They run down the biggest headlines from the show, including replaying the McAfee and Corbin altercation at ringside. We hear from Baron Corbin backstage with Megan Morant. Baron Corbin, or Happy Corbin rather, says that Pat McAfee is nothing than a fanboy, nothing more than a fanboy, and there's a big difference between being a fanboy and a WWE superstar, and what he did to him on SmackDown was merely a taste of what McAfee would get at SummerSlam, which he did not. McAfee actually returned the favor by low-blowing Corbin at SummerSlam and picking up the victory. He also says luck is for losers as well, kind of channeling his inner CM Punk there. That's the first person I think of anytime someone says luck is for losers. I remember first hearing CM Punk say that many, many years ago. So anyway, Sam Roberts and Matt Camp remotely debate the McAfee and Corbin matchup. Sam Roberts says that Corbin is taken for granted, which I actually agree with. He really is taken for granted by the WWE fan base, more often than not. They also replay the McIntyre versus Sheamus, the closing moments of their Donnybrook match. McIntyre not only winning, but earning the opportunity to challenge for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at Clash of the Castle in early September. Roberts says that McIntyre deserved that victory. They also replay the show ending with Brock Lesnar going after or interrupting Paul Heyman. Brock going after Theory, and Theory also being laid out by Drew McIntyre, and the face-to-face, the stare-down between Brock and Drew at ringside, which was really well done, to kind of throw people off the scent that Roman would win at SummerSlam, which thankfully he did. Anyway, so Matt Camp says that Roman and Brock were already looking forward to Clash of the Castle, already looking ahead past SummerSlam to Clash of the Castle for their defense against Drew McIntyre. That ended up being Roman Reigns, as I mentioned. Roberts says that Roman and Brock would tear the stadium down in the Nissan Stadium, which they didn't tear the stadium down, obviously, but they did tear the ring down to that fucking tractor, which was amazing. That was great stuff. They also replay Ronda Rousey and Liv Morgan, knocking off, I think it was Natalya and Shotzi in tag team action. Liv Morgan backstage is interviewed by Megan Morant, and she says that she carried her team to victory, and that Ronda Rousey does not want this win, as she said on Raw Talk, I think on Monday of last week. She does not want this win as bad as she does. And she was going to give Ronda Rousey the fight of her life, which, I mean, she really did, and Ronda dominated 90% of the match, but whatever. She did promise to leave SummerSlam still the SmackDown Women's Champion, which she did. She was right in that respect. Roberts says that Morgan winning that match would cement her status as the champion, no longer an underdog. And the way that she won, and I didn't see the tap out when I was there in the building for the match, I would still say she's the underdog. I actually liked the way they did the finish for the most part, and she's still the underdog. Ronda turned heel afterward. I thought it was really well done. So anyway, they promote the new This Is Awesome show on Peacock, which I have no desire to watch, but that's on Peacock now if you're interested in that. They also replay the Usos and Profits segment from SmackDown involving Jeff Jarrett. The Profits very briefly promote and hype up their match with the Usos at SummerSlam here on Talking Smack, backstage with Megan Morant. They talk about Jeff Jarrett. It's mostly Dawkins, and Ford kind of throws in his 2 cents at the end. The Profits interviews are always really, really good. I haven't seen their interview from Raw Talk yet this week, but they're always good, but they always really say a lot of nothing. And there's really nothing of note about their interviews. They're always enjoyable, and they bring the energy, but what they're actually saying is really nothing of note. But anyway, Matt Camp, to close out the show here, he picks the Usos, or rather the Profits, to win, which they didn't. Sam Roberts was right in siding with the Usos. And then for the remainder, 5 minutes of the show, they run down the rest of the card, predict the rest of the card, whatever. So, silly me thinking, this was a very SummerSlam heavy show. I thought we would get some stuff about SmackDown that had nothing to do with SummerSlam, but this was a go-home show. This did air the day of the pay-per-view, so I get it. But yeah, fine edition of Talking Smack, or the SmackDown LowDown, rather. Really nothing now in retrospect to go back and watch, now with the pay-per-view being over and several days old, having happened 4 days ago. Usually my reviews are not this late, but just the weekend was so hectic, and I only got back a few days ago, and it's been non-stop stuff ever since. But I appreciate you guys checking out my review of the show. The latest review of the SmackDown LowDown will be up at some point, hopefully this weekend. A lot sooner than Wednesday, I'll tell you that much. And my review of Raw Talk will also be up at some point, hopefully tomorrow here on the channel, in addition to all the other content coming up very, very soon. So yeah, with that being said, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch your ass down the road.